Welcome to FoxHubVideo. What if everything you knew about slavery was only half the story? The truth is darker, deeper, and more complex than we've been told. Let's uncover the dark origins of slavery, what history never told you.
The Atlantic slave trade represents one of history's darkest chapters, where European powers sought labor for their burgeoning colonies in the Americas and the Caribbean. The origins of this inhumane practice were rooted in Europe's desire to expand its agricultural and economic prowess without bearing the burden of labor themselves. Africa, with its diverse and abundant population, became the unfortunate source of this labor due to its geographical proximity and the existing trade networks. Initially, some African leaders participated in this exchange, trading prisoners of war for European goods, such as cloth, guns, and alcohol. However, as the demand for labor increased, the slave trade evolved into a brutal and systematic industry. This trade led to the forced displacement of millions of African men, women, and children, tearing them from their homes and subjecting them to unimaginable hardships. The human cost was immense, as entire communities were decimated, cultural identities were shattered, and the African continent was left scarred by the loss of its people. The legacy of this dark period still echoes in our world today, reminding us of the atrocities committed and the resilience of those who endured. In the face of the Atlantic slave trade, African communities across the continent did not passively accept their fate. Resistance was fierce and multifaceted, arising from both individuals and organized groups. Many African societies were determined to protect their people from being captured and sold into slavery. Some leaders, like Queen Nzinga of Indongo and Matamba, used diplomatic strategies and military resistance to fight back against Portuguese forces. She formed alliances and even converted to Christianity to negotiate better terms, yet remained a formidable opponent in battle, leading her troops into combat to defend her kingdom. In West Africa, leaders like King Agaja of Dahomey resisted European slavers by fortifying their communities and engaging in warfare to prevent the capture of their people. Additionally, there were countless acts of individual defiance. Enslaved Africans aboard ships often attempted revolts, seeking freedom even in the direst conditions. These rebellions, though many were suppressed, demonstrated the unyielding spirit and resilience of those captured. Through strategic warfare, cunning diplomacy, and sheer bravery, these acts of resistance against the slave trade were crucial in challenging the oppressive systems of the time. The Middle Passage was a harrowing chapter in human history, marking the forced voyage of enslaved Africans across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas. Picture this: hundreds of men, women, and children crammed into the dark, suffocating holds of ships, shackled together with barely enough room to sit, let alone lie down. The air was thick with the stench of fear, sweat, and waste as these vessels became floating prisons. Food was scarce, often consisting of meager rations that barely sustained life, while fresh water was a luxury. Disease ran rampant in these cramped quarters, claiming the lives of many before they ever saw land again. Those who survived the journey faced an uncertain future, sold like commodities at auction blocks, their lives forever altered. Families were brutally torn apart, language and culture stripped away, as they were forced into a life of relentless labor on plantations. This grim voyage laid the foundations for the economic prosperity of Europe and America, built on the backs of enslaved individuals. The Middle Passage stands as a stark reminder of human cruelty and the resilience of those who endured its horrors, a testament to the strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. Picture the scene: a bustling auction block, filled with the noise of prospective buyers and the cries of families on the verge of being separated forever. This was the grim reality for countless individuals during the transatlantic slave trade. After surviving the horrific Middle Passage, they were brought to these markets where their fate hung in the balance. The auction block was not just a place of sale, it was a site of deep despair and human tragedy. Families who had already endured the unimaginable horrors of the journey across the ocean now faced the prospect of being torn apart. Children were ripped from their mothers, siblings were separated, and spouses were divided, often never to see each other again. The buyers, driven by profit and productivity, viewed these human lives as mere commodities, ignoring the bonds of kinship and love. This brutal practice not only shattered families, but also left deep scars on those who survived. The legacy of these separations echoed through generations, affecting cultural identities and community structures. The auction block thus stands as a symbol of the inhumanity of slavery, reminding us of the resilience of those who endured and the enduring impact of these historical injustices. In the darkest periods of American history, enslaved African people found solace and strength in music. Songs became a powerful tool of resistance and a lifeline to hope, preserving their cultural identity and uniting them in the face of immense adversity. These melodies, often referred to as spirituals, carried messages of resilience, freedom, and faith. Through song, the enslaved could express their sorrow, share their dreams, and communicate secretly among themselves. The lyrics often contained coded messages that guided those seeking freedom along the Underground Railroad, with songs like Wade in the Water providing instructions to escape. Music was a communal activity that strengthened bonds, providing an emotional release and a sense of solidarity. It was in these harmonies that they found a voice against the oppression, a means to maintain their humanity, and a way to cope with the brutal realities of their lives. The spirituals not only kept hope alive, but also laid the foundation for future generations, influencing genres such as gospel, blues, and jazz. These songs of resistance serve as a testament to the unbreakable spirit of those who, even in bondage, refused to be silenced. Enslaved people used music not just as a form of resistance, but as a profound declaration of their enduring hope and unyielding spirit. In the heart of oppression, enslaved Africans carved out sanctuaries of freedom through hidden communities known as maroon societies. These enclaves emerged as powerful symbols of resistance, offering refuge and autonomy to those who dared to escape the brutal realities of slavery. Hidden deep within dense forests, swamps, and mountains, these communities became bastions of hope and resilience. They were often established in remote areas difficult for slaveholders to penetrate, allowing the inhabitants to live free from the shackles of forced servitude. Within these sanctuaries, African traditions thrived, with music, dance, and oral storytelling serving as vital links to their cultural heritage. The Maroons cultivated the land, practiced trades, and formed self-governing societies. Some even engaged in guerrilla warfare, defending their territories from colonial forces. These communities forged alliances with indigenous peoples, exchanging knowledge and resources to strengthen their defenses against common oppressors. The legacy of these hidden communities stands as a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who refused to succumb to the chains of slavery, proving that the desire for freedom could not be extinguished. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, a powerful movement began to take shape. Abolitionists, individuals who were committed to ending the inhumane practice of slavery, emerged from diverse backgrounds and united in a common cause. These early abolitionists were a mix of former slaves, religious leaders, and social reformers. Their efforts were instrumental in raising awareness about the atrocities of slavery and galvanizing public opinion against it. Figures like Olaudah Equiano, a former slave who wrote a compelling autobiography, and William Wilberforce, a British politician who tirelessly campaigned in Parliament, were pivotal in the fight against the slave trade. Women also played a crucial role. Individuals like Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman not only advocated for abolition, but also risked their lives to lead others to freedom. The abolitionist movement utilized a variety of tactics, from organizing rallies and publishing pamphlets to delivering passionate speeches. Their relentless campaigning eventually led to significant legislative changes, including the British Parliament's passage of the Slave Trade Act in 1807 and the U.S. Congress's abolition of the transatlantic slave trade in 1808. These steps marked significant victories in the long journey toward the eventual eradication of slavery. The Atlantic slave trade, spanning from the 16th to the 19th centuries, was one of history's most devastating events, profoundly impacting African nations. Millions of Africans were forcibly taken from their homelands, leading to a population decline that weakened societies across the continent. This loss disrupted traditional structures, economies, and social cohesion, leaving many regions vulnerable to colonization and internal conflicts. The removal of so many young and able individuals stunted economic development and innovation, resulting in long-lasting repercussions that are still felt today. The trade also fostered an environment of distrust and division, as rival groups were often pitted against each other, sometimes selling captives to European traders. This legacy of division can still be seen in some areas where ethnic tensions persist. The cultural impact is equally significant. Despite the forced migration, African traditions, languages, and practices have endured, enriching global culture, especially in music, dance, and cuisine. Understanding these historical impacts is crucial for recognizing the roots of contemporary challenges and for fostering reconciliation and growth. By acknowledging the past, we can work towards a more equitable future, ensuring that such tragedies are never repeated.